right, you do your value, right? I don't know if you saw this. It was in the Guardian. It was fake, right? So this is the coffee chat ask sandwich. You thank them, you made your ask, you provided value. Thank, ask, value. Thank, ask, value, right? You don't have to use this exact like wordage, right? I don't think you should copy and paste what I have here, right? Like we don't want 1,000 people sending coffee chat requests with the same text, right? But it should give you a pretty common place to start. Thanking them, making your ask, and then providing value, right? And so if you can get that through in your coffee chat requests, I know they're going to go well for you. Is it weird to take notes during coffee chats? I think it is. I think some people do it, but I'm not there to like take notes or be like I don't know. I'm there to make a friend, right? I don't ever pull out my notebook with my friends, right? Like if we're chilling, I'm not like, oh really, eh? And I'm like writing it. No, that's weird, right? So don't bring a notebook. Don't be overly eager. Remember, you're trying to make a friend. Like even if they're a more senior engineer, you're still trying to make friends, right? And so really treat it in text, right? Use the sheet, right? You have the sheet, exclamation point sheet, and chat works as well. Remember, it's a place where you're going to put the event, the date, the name, the company position, the spark, like the thing you remember about them, their email, and then you follow up on all of the patterns, right? You might have to come back and make a copy later because there's a lot of you on here. But yeah, use the sheet. You're going to forget people. You're going to forget people, and then you're going to be 20 weeks later, right? You'll be 20 weeks later wanting to apply to that company, and you're going to see, oh, I talked to Bob that works at that company a couple months ago. So you're going to remember that. Don't bring a notebook. So you can use that. Don't be overly eager. Remember, you're trying to make Bob. I really enjoyed our conversation about Rubik's Cubes a couple months ago. I actually bought one. I've been trying to learn it myself. I saw that such and such company has an opening. Would you feel comfortable referring me? Right? You got to have it. Don't record conversations. No, please don't. How does the Google alert work? You just go to Google Alerts. You just go to google.com/alerts. And you can put in any name or company or anything like that, and then it just sends you an email when it finds something. All right. Yeah, the sheet's not going to work because so many people jump on it. You got to come back after class. All right. Questions before we take our top of the hour break. When we come back, we're getting into writing actual code, building real layouts. I'm super excited. Questions before we take our break. About networking, please. How do I not give off the impression of trying to ask someone out when asking for coffee? One, first remove any idea of dating or anything out of your brain when you're doing networking. It has no place. Don't be creepy. Don't do that, right? You keep it professional, right? You keep it professional. You make sure that it's very clear that you're interested in career and their career growth, right? You're interested in learning about how they got started as an engineer, and that's it. Please don't ever ask someone out for the hour of coffee chat. Please don't ask someone out when you're going to these networking events. These are two completely separate ideas. Don't be that person. I really prefer to keep it professional. I'm a little old school. I'm never going to give you my phone number. We're going to communicate via email. Right? I'm going to make it very clear, right? Very clear that this is not, this is nothing in that realm. This is a business relationship. And so I know I'm a little odd, but I think that I have seen a lot of folks benefit from keeping professional communication, LinkedIn messages and emails, as opposed to phone numbers and texting and stuff like that. How do we get open source projects to work on? We're going to cover that as we get further along. tips to make a coffee chat feel less like an interview. Just be genuinely interested in the person. It's not an interview. It's, hey, how'd you get started? Right? How'd you get started? What made you interested in tech? Right? These are like very open-ended questions that you're really, and in my emails, I'm always saying like, hey, I'm really interested in how you got to where you are, right? It's very clear that I'm trying to learn about your experience as an engineer. And so that's how I start with most of my questions. That. How does this work in places that are not open source projects to work on? We're going to cover that. You find a city that has meetups closer to you, or you find communities that are closer to you, or if you know you're in a place that just doesn't have anything, then you have to do the harder journey, which is networking with remote companies. Find a list of 80 companies. You can find it very easily online. 80 companies that hire remotely. Figure out the people that work there, start figuring out what events they go to, what meetups they go to, and meet with them digitally. If you're thinking about being purely remote and in a place that does not have a locality that has engineers, then you're going to be doing the same process, but you're targeting people remotely and remote events. It's more difficult for sure. Most events are remote right now. Some are slowly starting to go back in person, but most are still remote. They'll mostly be like over Zoom or some other platform like that. How do we start conversations in virtual meetups or coffee chats? Hello, how are you? My name is Leon. What are you excited about today? Like, what brought you here? If it's a JavaScript meetup, like, are you excited about the talk, right? Are you interested in the topic? Here for the pizza, right? Any of those things are starters, but we're going to specifically have a night to practice our opening, right? We're going to have a night where we all kind of are talking live to each other, where we practice our kind of like how to start conversations, right? I know that's a pretty big barrier for a lot of folks. And so we're going to do an icebreaker night exactly where we practice our openings, how we reach out to people, right? And so we're gonna practice all those things. I have some of my students that literally have like index cards they carry that have like all their basic questions that they've practiced. They go into the mirror, they look at themselves and they say, hey, I'm Leon, nice to meet you, right? And so we're going to practice these openings. We're going to practice these kind of conversations. And so that's why I say, this is the beginning. We're going to go slow, right? We're going to go slow. Go to the bathroom. Don't wait for me to break. Why are you sitting there when you have to go to the bathroom? Just go to the bathroom. That's so weird. We're going to go slow. You're going to take your time, right? You're going to take your time. We're going to build up to this. Don't have something, right? Don't have something like that makes this a blocker to you. We're going to go slow. We're going to mess up a lot. We're going to find what works and we're going to keep pushing. Is there a dress code for coffee chats? No, keep it casual. Alrighty, folks. We're at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and take our 5-minute break. If you're new around here, we like to be healthy. We like to make sure that we get our stretches in. We like to move around.
You have a 5-minute break.
We like to make sure if we're able to get up, look outside the window, let our eyes focus on something that is not the screen, and we'll be back in 5.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ألف لام را تلك آيات الكتاب المبين إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله لمن الغافلين إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت
Welcome everyone.
إني رأيت
Yo. We had some extra stuff that came in that I didn't see on my dashboard. So let me see if I can find it real quick. Are we talking about networking in the context of coding or that weird thing social? Yeah, we're talking about making connections so that we can get jobs. Cool. Pick that up there. Alrighty. About a minute left, folks. Where did you learn all your networking hacks? In the streets, folks. Most of the stuff I teach is because I've probably already fucked it up. And I've learned from that fuck up, and then I distill it so that you do not have to fuck up in the ways that I have fucked up. And then the beautiful thing about having hundreds of students that I've helped get jobs is that I've seen them fuck up. And so I learn the things that have stopped them from fucking up, and then I teach it to you. Jordans or Yeezys? I've never been into shoes. And I only wear vegan shoes now. I just, like, growing up, we didn't have, like, money for shoes. So I had my Airwalks from Payless and I thought they were the jam. And yeah, that was it. All right, folks. Come on back. Come on back. Chris, Lance. Thank you, Chris. All right, folks, come on back. Let's get into this. Boom. Thank you for the update on your bathroom endeavors. Glad it went well. Are you into zero drop shoes? I am. And the more comfortable. All right. And the last thing we talked about networking was the apps, and we talked about this image. I just wanted to throw this image back up just because. Alrighty, folks. Let's move on. Golden rule. Separation concerns is important. Why? Yes, organization. For ourselves, our teammates, it helps our code stay organized, keeping our content in our HTML, our style in our CSS, and our behavior and interaction in our JavaScript. Nice. Talked about this idea of progressive enhancement. This idea that the core of our content should be good HTML. And if we do that, we're doing enough. On top of that core of content, we just add a little bit of a chocolatey coating that is our presentation or our style. And we have to be a very, very thin candy coating of our JavaScript. So the core should be HTML, and then everything else is really extra. And the reason for that is because we are still in a time where most folks lack access to high broadband internet. In the US in 2017, the statistic came out that 35% of our rural residents did not have access to broadband. That was 22 million Americans. When you look outside the US, it gets even more real in terms of folks still not having access to high-speed broadband. And guess what? Your sites do not need to be that heavy. There's this really wonderful thing I found on Hacker News last time I was teaching this class called the 1 Megabyte Club. So it's all sites whose total size, right? Their total size is less than a megabyte, and they just keep a really cool list of it. And there are some big ones on here. We saw the light.cnn.com, but there's also like NPR now has a very simple one. So text.npr.org, right? Has all of their content, all their main articles, right? In just text format. The site is way less heavy. It loads faster. It does all the things that you need it to do without having to sacrifice folks that do not have high-speed broadband. Cool. The other new thing that's coming out recently is Starlink. I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube of folks that finally have Starlink. So Starlink is Elon Musk's company where they put satellites, and they figured out a way to make the connection to those satellites, since they're in low Earth orbit and not like all the way up in the outside of the like lower Earth orbit. They can actually connect to them and have really fast speeds. And so people have like really low ping and over 100 megabytes per second. So like faster than traditional broadband that's like wired, which is pretty dope. And for $99 a month, and their goal is to like bring that cost down. We're talking about folks that are like in the middle of nowhere in terms of like access to broadband, now being able to get access to it. And there's a bunch of other companies that are competing as well. And so hopefully we'll see over the next 10 years or so the proliferation of broadband in places that wouldn't actually run cable to. A buddy in Minnesota has it and loves it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that are really, really happy with it. But yeah, I've watched quite a few videos of people like setting it up, and it seems to work really well for them. So maybe this problem will slowly dwindle, and hopefully the cost gets reduced significantly. All right, where does CSS go, folks? Separate file, exactly. If we are writing for HTML emails, we can put a little bit in inline. If we're writing code at Amazon and we need critical path CSS, maybe put a little in the head. But for most of our projects and the things we work on, separate file, to make sure we adhere to separation of concerns. All right, our favorite game, chat. What is this? Oh no. What is this? Gotcha. To value, nice. How about this? Selector, nice, nice. And how about this? Beautiful. Declaration. So whole thing is a rule. A rule is broken down into selectors. Declaration block. Declaration blocks are broken down into declarations. Declarations broken down into properties and values. Wonderful. All right, we know that stuff that comes above can be overwritten. That stuff that comes below due to the cascade, right? Due to the cascade. But the cascade only comes into effect if the stuff below has what? Specificity, exactly. They have to have the same or greater specificity. Nice. Alrighty. We have a bunch of different relationships we can use to target specific elements in our CSS. So we have parent-child relationships, and this right here is a direct parent-child, right? Meaning that the child comes directly within the parent. There's no other steps in between, which is a little bit different than a parent-child that is not direct. Here we have a child of a paragraph that is directly inside of an article, but is still inside of a section. So no direct child. If we were to go ahead and put the caret here, this just wouldn't work. It would not style hello Twitch to be read. Beautiful. And the other one we saw is a direct sibling, right? Where we're trying to find a paragraph that immediately comes after another paragraph. So in this case, hello YouTube would be the thing that comes read because it comes immediately after another paragraph. Alrighty. Boom, boom, boom. Alrighty. IDs and classes, right? IDs and classes. So, here we go. IDs can be used once, right? Once and only once, right? IDs can be used once and only once. Once you give us something an ID, right? Once you give something an ID, that ID cannot be reused, right? It cannot be reused on any other element. And once you give an ID, sorry, 1 second. Cool. Alrighty. Once you give an ID, right? Once you give an ID, that ID cannot be given to any other element. So I could not put zebra on another paragraph. I could not put it on another section. It is now no longer allowed to be used. And, right, this other element, this element paragraph cannot get another ID. Cool. Classes are a little bit different, right? Classes are a little bit different, right? Classes are a little bit different. Each element can have multiple classes, right? Each element can have multiple classes. So I could give it a class of Bob, a class of Rainbow, a class of Robot, and classes can be reused, right? So not only can one element have it, but every element could eventually have that class. And then our classes can be given as many as we want per element. And so you can wind up with an element that has an ID of zebra, then it has a class of Bob and a class of Robot and a class of etc. Because IDs are unique, classes are not. So we target multiple elements at the same time. Nice. All right, chat. How many points of specificity? Well, for the rule, I should say. How many points of specificity for the rule?